So I've been thinking about Pierre Gasly. The Frenchman has absolutely smashed it this year as far as I'm concerned. He is my driver of the year so far. He's been getting everything out of that Alpha Tauri. But what does the future hold for him? Because you go back 12 months, almost to the day of me filming this, and Pierre's just lost his seat at Red Bull to Alex Albon. Obviously, it didn't work out for him. He got that seat firmly on merit, absolutely on merit, but it did not work out. And what happened? Went back to Toro Rosso, and for me, he's consistently had the measure of Daniel Kvyat. So in terms of his future, Pierre's kind of got three options. He tries to get that Red Bull seat back, he sticks at AlphaTauri long term, or he looks elsewhere for a seat. So I put the question out on Twitter, and we had a lot of responses, and the numbers speak volumes. 7.9% think he should try and return to Red Bull, 17.3% think he should stick long term at AlphaTauri, and 74.8% of you said that he should look elsewhere. But what are his options? Because on the face of it, and for me, there is one clear option. As we all know, Fernando Alonso is returning to F1 with Renault next season at the age of 39. So realistically, how many years we're going to get out of him? Not too sure, hard to say. And he's going to be partnering Esteban Ocon. I'm saying in 22, 23, 24, when Alonso decides to fully retire, Gasly then takes that seat. They've got two very young, talented French drivers at Renault. A team which, well, the French government owns 15% of Renault, so very nationalistic, very proud of their people. It's the perfect French base to move forward and grow and make Renault great again. It's the dream French team, right? Well, not quite. See, Pierre and Esteban, they don't really get along. To quote Pierre, we're not friends. But why not? Well, today we're going to talk about exactly that and decipher exactly why Pierre and Esteban don't get along. They're passed together because they were very, very close at one stage. And is there a chance of them working out going forward? As mentioned in my driver hometowns video, Gasly is from Rouen and Esteban is from Évora. 45-minute drive, tops between the two. In a country as big as France, that's no distance at all. And not only were they born in the same part of France, but they were both born in 1996, so it was inevitable that their junior careers would come together, they would overlap, and that they would get to know each other. Now, just to preface as well, about this whole situation of them not getting along anymore, I haven't really been able to find any quotes directly from Esteban referencing this. This is all Pierre, because Pierre has talked about it quite a bit. So just putting that out there because, of course, there's two sides to every story and we've only really heard Pierre's point of view. So in October 2018, Pierre featured on F1's Beyond the Grid podcast with Tom Clarkson, and Pierre did open up in the most significant way he ever has about their relationship because, of course, Tom pressed him on why him and Esteban don't get along anymore. So here's some paraphrased quotes from that podcast with Pierre, which gives his side of the story all the way from the start to where it is today. The story with Esteban is so long we could speak about it for hours. I started karting with the same engine preparer as Esteban. We'd be the only ones at the local karting track in the snow. We were almost like brothers. We both had a really competitive mindset and really wanted to beat each other. It was great for us. It helped to raise both our levels. Unfortunately, it got worse in karting. I really remember one weekend during the World Cup in 2010 in Portugal where he literally cut the corner on the track to hit me. At that point, we weren't training together anymore either. It actually started during a race in 2009, where I overtook him for third place. We then found each other in Formula Renault 2 litres, had lots of battles. I tried to keep the relationship as good as I could. Came to him a couple of times to say, stop these stupid things we're doing. You do your thing, I do my thing. I think he never really showed me he wanted to keep the relationship. We can speak, but only on things outside of racing. The day you don't respect me is the day I don't respect you. Waiting for apologies his side, but they never came. In the end, I really respect him as a driver. We spent some great time together when we were young. It was a positive thing. In the end, it's quite funny seeing us both in Formula 1 now. Pierre also did a live Q&A with Will Buxton at the 2018 Austrian Grand Prix during some media time. And this is a direct quote from what Pierre said to Will in response to being asked, what's the beef? It's a long story. I'm not sure we have time to go through everything. We were best friends from 6 to 7 to 12 to 13. Grew up on the same tracks, training every weekend. He used to come to my home every Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, and same to his. And then after we started to fight on track and started to go bad from the point he started to crash into me for race wins. And from that point, it started to be more difficult. I've tried to keep the relationship healthy, but we came to a point where he didn't really want it to be healthy anymore. In the end, I respect him as a driver. He's a really fast guy. We had a great couple of years racing in 2 litres, and I beat him the 2 years we raced together. He's a fast driver, but we're not really friends anymore. Again, I just want to reiterate, we're only hearing Pierre's side of the story on this. I'm sure there's culpability on both ends. There usually is. But it's sad, isn't it, man? Now, as I said, Esteban hasn't addressed this directly at all. The only kind of relevant soundbite I can find is when on French TV, when Pierre first joined Formula One, they were asking a few drivers what they thought of Pierre joining. And they did ask Esteban. I actually had to put a shout out on Twitter to all of my French fans to translate what Esteban said. And thank you to Julie on Twitter who quickly obliged. So in response to being asked, what do you think of Pierre, a new French driver, joining F1? He said, it's good for the French motorsport, but it will also be good if he stays behind me. I think that speaks volumes considering this is a question levelled at him about someone who was his best mate at the age of 12, 13, just how badly that relationship has kind of deteriorated. If he's got nothing more to say than that. Since being in F1, they've had a couple of ding-dongs. Mexico in 2018 with Esteban in a Force India, Pierre in a Toro Rosso. Pierre's kind of trying to go around the outside of turn 4 and Ocon kind of pushes him wide, or at least Pierre believes he does. For me, there's not much in it. I think Pierre maybe slightly outbrakes himself and the stewards saw it that way as well. So fair enough, but Pierre was not happy at all. In fact, to quote Pierre, I think he wasn't very happy that I'd started last and managed to overtake him, so he pushed me wide and I had to go off track. I could have forced my way in turn 5 and that would have had contact, but it wasn't worth it, as I could have another go after that. For me, it wasn't fair because you leave space for one car, but if they say you can race aggressively, I don't mind. With Ocon, it's always the same thing. I've known him for a long time. There are a lot of chances that things like this happen. And probably the biggest incident between them was in 2018 at the French Grand Prix, where they came together on the very first lap, putting them both out of the race. For me, Ocon was more culpable in this one. He kind of just came across Pierre, took Pierre's front wing out, and they just mullered both of their races. You've got to look at people like Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg. They were best of mates. Even though they battled throughout their karting careers, they were still best of mates when they joined Formula One. I mean, you look at their reaction to both getting their first podium together after Lewis won in Australia in 2008. I mean, that was so wholesome and that was so nice to see that they were still best mates. And they still maintained that friendship up until they started properly battling in that Mercedes from like end of 2013, start of 2014. But with Pierre and Esteban, that relationship was long gone, long before they got to Formula One, by the sounds of it. It is truly sad that their competitiveness on the track has got in the way of what was a great friendship. And again, we will never truly know who was more or less culpable because I'm sure they would both give very alternative perspectives on the situation. Ocon does ruffle a few feathers, so if I'm honest, I feel like I am probably slightly siding with Pierre. But again, we don't know all the facts. And Pierre just comes across as such a lovely, lovely bloke. Ocon for me is a little bit more abrasive and a little bit more aggressive and prepared to kind of wind people up. I don't know. That's just my take. Look, could they work together? Well, I think if Renault got a counsellor, stuck them two on a sofa for a few sessions just so they can air everything out, I think they'd find a lot of common ground. And I think they could work together. Like Pierre's reiterated in every time he's mentioned this, that he does respect Esteban as a driver. And do drivers have to get along to do well together? Mercedes won plenty of constructors' titles with Nico and Lewis not particularly getting along. There's plenty of examples in the past of teammates not getting along necessarily, but still doing well overall from a constructor's point of view. It's not like they hate each other. They do talk. They do talk in the paddock. They just don't talk about racing because then that's when it gets a bit salty. But I don't think there's any hate there. I just think there's a lot of history there. A lot of kind of unresolved issues, I feel. I genuinely feel like they're probably both fuming still about incidents that happened when they were 14 in cars and they just never solved it. But anyway, that's my take on the Ocon-Gasly beef. Let me know what you think in the comments. Who's more at fault, maybe? Because we'll never truly know, but we've all got an opinion. Like I said, I'm probably slightly more pro-Gasly, but we just don't know. So if you enjoyed this one, please give that like button a little tickle, sub, notification bell, one of them, out. And yeah, maybe let me know what other drivers you'd like to see a bit more of a deep dive, maybe into just them or maybe a certain relationship they have. I'm always happy to hear new video ideas because sometimes I am clutching at straws. My name's been Tommo. This is the Tommo F1 YouTube channel. Thank you very much as ever again for watching. Have a good one. Ta.